I can tell the entire emotion of somebody, and it's just due to body language. Because body language, I mean, we don't normally think about it because we kind of tend to lean on words, this lie, when body language is really the easiest way to talk to somebody.
So, to get into, just, I'm kind of going on a different
Sorry?
tangent, but you talked about a lot of, talking about the unconscious, how it opens up your unconscious, and a lot of things within the conscious or the unconscious is transliminality. So people are able to reach information that's in the unconscious because they have high levels of transliminality. So would you assume body language is a way that we unconsciously are picking it up, but someone that has this ability to reach information in the unconscious and bring it to the conscious? Can you say that about body language?
The body language is something that happens unconsciously. And it just is. It's not something that you really think about because you're too busy thinking about your phone or your whatever the fuck is going on in front of you. When you're on these entheogens, it is the only way you can truly understand, refer, and defer information. What did you really ask me?
When you're on those and picking up body language, and
You said, is that...
is it like your unconscious is seeping into your conscious awareness? So whatever normally
there becomes no unconscious in a sense. You know what I mean?
Okay, so everything's in awareness.
Yes. What happens, I'd like to make this analogy because in your central cortex, it's really this hub for all this fucking random information. From your legs being crossed right now, from you feeling that glass, from you sipping whatever the fuck is in it. It's all this random information. And it's dissociative already without these entheogens. And people like to think that it's almost a dissociation when you take them. But it's not. And I'd like to make this example about the central cortex. It's like a hamster running on a wheel. And then when you introduce psilocybin, the hamster starts looking around and says, I don't need to run on this wheel anymore. There's a lot of room to move around in here. What the fuck am I doing?
Okay.
And you start to deprioritize, organize, prioritize everything that you've ever been and everything that you've ever experienced. It's a really incredible thing because I think these are kind of vanguard compounds in order to get people through mental illness, PTSD, whether it be objects, sounds, images, a thought that are all negative or are all deprogressive. When you take these, it's almost as if it just flies out of your ear. And you forget about it. It's something, well, not forget about, but you get over.
Okay.
Because you understand that
Doesn't matter.
it doesn't matter. You have an incredible innate ability to then understand what really matters.
And what really matters?
That's it. Yeah. You filter out all the bullshit and start to understand that you live in, an organism that is completely higher than yourself.
Okay. Do you feel like an intense of love?
That's a great question.
The English word?
No, that's a great question. With mushrooms comes a chronic biophilia. Chronic biophilia is a innate love for nature. And I say love for nature because you start to understand life beyond just a human or a dog or a cat or a fucking insect. You look at plants as if it's just like you because they are. I mean, they're more than you because without them, you would not be. And it's funny because without plant life, without fungus, without mushrooms, you would not have plant life. And people don't understand that. But the reason you have landmass, like landscapes, like trees and forests is all due to mycelium. Mycelial webs, well, let me get into this. Mycelium is the rooting system of mushrooms. For example, like you could find a morel mushroom in Pennsylvania, but you could also find a morel mushroom in Japan. So is that these two different climates are perfect for the mushroom and they just happen to grow there, or are the mycelial maps so large that they are spawning all across the world? And mushrooms are possibly the oldest organism to this planet. And if anything, it's almost as if they are older than this planet. Like, for example, billions of years ago, billions of years ago, plant life could only grow to about 3 or 4 feet because mushrooms were so, how do I want to say, intense, you know, with their growing and their budding and their multiplication.
Okay.
Like, for example, the obelisk in Egypt and in Washington, D.C., mushrooms, you don't have to believe me, but that is a depiction of a large mushroom. That the obelisk itself is thought to be a phallic symbol for Ra, the penis of Ra, but in general the mushroom was always been thought to be a phallic symbol because it looks like a penis. They said that this was the little god. You know what I mean?
Okay.
But yes, the obelisk is nothing more than a stone depiction of a giant mushroom.
Okay. I watched this one video that talked about like where the origin of the word psychedelic came from,
Okay.
and like they took it apart. So like psyche, mind, and then delos is to make visible or clear.
Okay.
So then they said like mind manifestors.
That's a interesting way to think about it, or talk about it, break it down. Mind manifestors.
Or they make visible or clear to your mind.
It's funny, that brings me into another subject. When I was driving, when you're driving on these things, it's funny because I'm surprised I haven't been yawning, because the entheogens, they create immediately, even before you feel it, you start to yawn. And a lot of people are like, what the fuck is this? Like, I don't understand why you yawn, but it's because your brain, in a sense, is actually working in hyperspace. It's like, for example, in the car, when you're driving, you almost feel as though your physical body is catching up to this. But, you know, of course, going 50, 60 miles an hour is not even close to the fraction of what hyperspace is. But you feel as though you're getting to that point. You're getting a little closer to that speed. But, while driving, you also, your reality really starts to diminish in the sense that it dematerializes. It's an actually greater sense of seeing with the mind than with the eyes, because with the eyes, it's completely blurry. It starts, not to say that you see two of everything, but everything starts to become a blur. But it's still very incredibly visible because you're seeing with your mind.
Okay.
Like, to some it might be bothersome, but I understand it quite well. Like, for example, last night, I mean, it's completely ignorant of selfish of me to do this, but last night when I was driving in from Manayunk from my friend's house, I had my eyes closed for about 2 miles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you were able to see? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Could you say it's almost like those 2 miles, you're measuring time, so pretend it took you 2 minutes to go 2 miles, but that time didn't exist.
Exactly.
So you knew you were already going to go those 2 miles, so you could close your eyes because you already knew you were there.
That kind of brings me into Einstein's theory of relativity.
Okay.
Because to say that light is the fastest thing on Earth is ridiculous, because with light comes a medium, you know what I mean? Like, when you're looking at the sun, for that light, in order to come to you, there is a medium. There is something there that makes it possible to travel. So, with that, information is the fastest thing. You know what I mean? Or sometimes, like, it still kind of perplexes me because I think about a black hole and I think about the fact that a black hole can suck in light. But what is it? And with light being the fastest thing, what holds a black hole in place? Gravity? You know what I mean? It's and I don't want to say that gravity is the fastest thing because it's obviously, I mean, visually it may not be, but it's also ignorant for me to assume that.
Okay.
But I think an ether, this medium that is all around us, is the fastest thing. Like, for example, when I take high doses, I can astro travel. I can go to different places. And with that, it's because of the fact that you can pass through this medium that is all around us, no matter what.
So would you say that's might have what you did for 2 miles?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I didn't, because obviously
this
I'm
This meat body is
because
still...
I'm physically moving, obviously, you know what I mean? But I certainly don't have to be if I wanted to go there. Metaphysically, that is.
Okay, so if you were still holding something, still moving, you can transcend out
Yes,
of
of
this
course.
place.
Yes.
Okay. Now, can you say when everyone, like pretend someone else took these drugs and they're a different person than you in this reality.
Yeah.
Do they have the same
Well, in every
experience?
reality, they're always different.
Do they have the same experience as you?
And that's another great question because I love the answer I can give for that. Because this is something so unique, just like to go back to like when I told her she was the most unique thing I've seen today. It's something so unique to you. This is something Da Vinci didn't see. This is something Marx couldn't think about. This is something Twain couldn't write. You know, it's something so incredibly unique to you, and that kind of brings apart. Like, as an intellectual, you tend to think that the hierarchy or dominance above you is something that you need to kind of, point to in order to gain or to step up to. But with this, it's just like, oh God, this breath out, because you created something so fucking incredible, so new. It's remarkable. It is, and when I say remarkable, it is unmatched. It cannot be touched by another. I mean, the experiences...
So your experience is something that...
Of course it can be very similar, the feelings and emotion, but what you stimulate is so yours. It's...
Okay.
Yeah.
So, what may give a rise to someone having a bad experience?
To be honest, I don't know how to. Well, I do know how to answer it a bit, but this is again an assumption of mine. I don't understand how somebody could have a bad trip, and well, that's one answer. But obviously, I'm going to deplete that answer because I'm about to tell you what I think.
Okay.
I really think when somebody has a bad trip, it is an easy way as the person observing that to understand that that person is actually quite bad. Or when I say bad, I mean, I don't want to say evil either, but they aren't a good person. And that's only and it might sound kind of odd of me to say, but the things that they have done in their life that they understand are negative, bad, cruel, manipulative, they reflect on that and they're completely troubled by this. And it's almost like a feeling of being in hell. Because that's where this stipulation of hell and heaven I'm sorry, I put it up and said hell. It's where that stipulation comes from because, if you are truly somebody who's trying to be good, you will come about this lucidity. But if you are someone who is very bad, you will not be put into a good place on this compound. You will be put into a ring of absolute frustration. You will be so demonized in this that you will just try to fall asleep and you cannot. You're trapped in your thoughts as